What is up, guys? Welcome to another Workout Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about hypertrophy. Now I know last week we talked about strength. Hypertrophy, well, that's the flip side of things. We'll get into that in a second. Now we're bringing back two of our favorite characters. You got Roger on this side, we've got George on this side. And Roger, he followed last week's advice and he's now working on his strength. As you can see, Roger over here, he's doing a 5x5 and he's trying to get stronger. Now George over here, he already got strong last week. This week he wants to focus on really getting a larger, bigger muscle. And now some of you might be thinking, well, strength, muscle size, don't they go hand in hand? Well, not quite. And that is what today's video is about. So, I will agree that if you're getting stronger, your muscles will be getting bigger. But here's the catch here. Trying to get stronger isn't necessarily the fastest way to get bigger muscles. Hear me out. I'm going to show you this example of Roger and George. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the science behind it without getting too detailed. And by the end of this, you might see with me that doing low reps for strength versus doing George's method over here, that doesn't work. But hear me out, and trust me. After this, you're going to see that Roger's method for strength and George's method for hypertrophy are two separate things, and George's method for hypertrophy will end up giving you larger muscle than Roger's method for strength. However, you can't do these independently, right? If you want to get bigger, you've got to focus on strength and hypertrophy at the same time. So I'm not saying do one or the other. What I'm saying is, last week I showed you how to do strength. You got to add some hypertrophy into the workout as well. So let's get right into this. So over here we've got Roger. He's doing his 5x5. On week 1, he starts 5x5 at 130 pounds, 35 pounds, and over his 4 weeks he works his 5x5 up to 155 pounds, putting on 20 pounds in his bench press in 4 weeks. That's not too bad, pretty respectable, and I'm sure Roger's feeling pretty good about himself. Let's dig a little deeper and see what's actually happening. Now, while Roger's muscles may be getting a little bit larger, what's truly happening on kind of a very small biological level, if we cut open Roger's skeletal tissue and we look inside the microfibrils, the tissue, the little strings that make up his muscle as a whole, you're going to see that at the beginning of the 5 weeks, these little dots showing the ends of the myofibrils, there's less of them, right? There's fewer, less dense myofibrils. These are these cords that contract that allow the muscle to move weight. Obviously, if you've got more of them or denser cords, they're going to be able to move more muscle. And like we talked about, or move more weight. And like we talked about last week, your body is trying to regain homeostasis. So if it regularly sees it's being challenged to move more and more weight, it's going to adapt by increasing muscle density. As you can see at the bottom here, after 4 weeks, those muscle fibers are much more dense, there's more myofibrils, and they're thicker. And that's the body's response to that heavy weight. It understands that it needs to be thicker, denser, and just more solidified to move that kind of heavier weight. And so the body reacts that way. Now this will give you slightly larger muscles, but it won't give you the most growth you can see in muscle size. And that's why you'll see bodybuilders doing very light weights for high reps, and they're these huge, giant bodybuilders. Whereas you might see smaller guys doing tons and tons of weight, and you're like, how does that guy with his small legs or his small upper body lift the amount of weight he's lifting? And it all comes from how their body's responding to that stimulus. So someone who constantly trains for strength and strength alone, you may see them with a smaller frame and smaller muscles, but those muscles may in fact be very, very, very dense, able to lift that weight. I'll throw up some examples of people on the screen here who fit that mold. Now, every program, don't get me wrong, needs some kind of strength base to it, right? If you're trying to work out, your main goal should be getting stronger. It's the quickest way you're going to see progression. But you can't just do the strength if you're trying to get size. You have to also include hypertrophy movements. So that's where we come over here to George. George over here, he's doing a 3x12, so more than double the reps, but with a lighter weight, 95 pounds. Now, over the 4 weeks, he ups it to 5 sets of 12 reps, increasing the overall volume, not increasing the weight at all. So what he's doing here is he's not worrying about the weight. He's worrying about how much blood he can pump into that muscle. doing 12 reps, that's a lot of time under tension, especially if you're doing a slow eccentric part of the movement, lowering the weight, coming up and squeezing, and then slow down again. Doing 12 reps, you're going to be close to 60 seconds or a minute under tension. Whereas in a 5x5, you're probably half of that, if even. So, for George, that time under tension is going to do something different to his muscle. The muscle will not be taxed for strength necessarily. What it's going to be seeing is an increase in blood flow. Now, let's, for the sake of this argument, assume that the fiber we're looking at is a 1/2 inch at the beginning of this. Because over the next 4 weeks, that muscle is going to get used to being engorged with blood, so much so that it's stretching and it's burning. The body is going to actually expand the size or the casing of the fiber to allow for more blood flow and more room for growth. So if you're not giving it this blood flow, if you're not kind of what they would call in bodybuilding chasing the pump or chasing the burn, which is that buildup of lactic acid and blood flow in the muscle, you're not going to be creating the room for your muscle to then expand. So your body, sensing that it's got this extra blood flow, will actually expand the tissue surrounding the microfibrils, allowing there to be more microfibrils created and for the microfibers to not just become denser, but become thicker, allowing for more blood flow to kind of compensate for the amount of blood flow they're seeing in these weeks. So when you combine the two of these, you're going to get the most size. Again, I'm not saying, and I'm very clear about this, I'm not saying that hypertrophy training is the only training you should do if you're trying to get big. You must accompany it with strength training. If you do not include strength training, you will get smaller and you will get weaker, especially if you're cutting. Especially if you're cutting, do not neglect strength training. All of your lifts should include a strength aspect followed up by hypertrophy work in order to get the maximal results for size. So, to sum up this entire video, if you are training for size, start off with strength as maybe your first primary movement, and then move into hypertrophy-based movements for blood flow. That will allow your muscles to get thicker, denser, and stronger, and then, over here, allow them to have more room to expand and grow because of the blood flow you're pushing into them in every workout. I hope this helped you guys. Again, this is a very simple version. There's a lot of complex science behind this and a lot of stuff that's still debated hotly in the community. If you guys did like this video, please give the video a thumbs up, share with your friends who need to hear this, and comment down below what you would like to see me do next when it comes to Workout Wednesdays, what you would like talked about, and I'll be happy to make a video on that. I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.